All right. Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Diamond Rivera of Diamond Rivera Films, and you are tuned into another episode of Live Discussions with Diamond. And today, here, I have all the way from Florida a very, very special guest, the one and only Elizabeth Silleck.
Hey everyone.
Hey, if everyone's also listening, there might be a small delay, but again, I am truly happy to have you, Elizabeth, on the program. I know, like you just told me, you've kind of moved into a new home, so things are getting rearranged. But again, I thank you for coming on to the platform.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. And yeah, there would normally be like art on the walls, but you could see. But I have a good dance floor.
Absolutely. And again, definitely during these crazy times, I think it's really important for myself, especially with this type of platform, is to bring guests like yourself on. For the past few months, I've been able to correspond with you, and we've met each other through Facebook, and just seeing how outspoken, especially that you've been with our about the pros and cons about our dance community. For me, it really intrigued me, and I wanted to learn more. And again, I applaud you myself for being such a outspoken individual in a world that people are very they critique a lot, but a lot of people can't. Sometimes people don't want to understand other people's point of view, but I definitely commend you for being so outspoken.
Thank you, Diamond. I appreciate that. And I've been following you as well. And I was really encouraged to see, your comments on the situation as far as the pandemic and, the need to take precautions and the need to take it seriously. And, I haven't seen that. Well, I won't say I haven't seen, but there's been very little leadership in Florida with respect to that. Not just in the dance community, but all along, all the way up to sort of the governor's office. Frankly, there's a lack of leadership in taking care of the community. So it was really encouraging to me to see you calling out bad behavior, because I think it needs to be done. And as you know, a lot of people in Florida vocally and vehemently disagree with me that we should call it out, but I'm going to do it anyway.
No, I definitely understand because, again, in our society, people have many different viewpoints. And especially when you touch on anything that really affects someone, it's usually you're going to get people that understand you and people that totally disagree with you. And especially because we have a dance community, people are very, very tedious and very wary of what other people say about their communities because in this day and age that we live in, we are not living like we were last year. It's a very, very different scenario. And the addition of COVID has affected our dance community immensely. And realizing that people using their voices, of your voice is a very powerful weapon, but especially when you use it on social media and the far outreach of what you say can have a positive or a negative effect. It does take really resilient people like myself and you and others that can say, I'm going to speak my truth no matter the repercussions that we might face.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I won't sit here and say that I'm a person that I don't care what anybody says about me or I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I think when people say that, I think they're full of it. I mean, honestly, we're all human, and humans are a communal species, right? So like it's not, I won't say that it doesn't hurt or bother me when people, attack me or whatever for what I'm saying, but I will say it's not going to stop me because I think, there are certain things in life that, matter and certain things that don't, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I personally think that collectively as a society, we should be prioritizing like our communal well-being, right? I know that sounds really touchy-feely or whatever, but truthfully, we should care about our fellow human being. Like, and I'm saying that not from any religious conviction or any, I just think that's just a moral imperative. And so I think where we have this situation where increasingly, I think in not just the dance community, but all throughout the country, this increasing like callousness, and this attitude that I'm going to get mine and everybody can, do their own thing. And I don't care how it affects other people. I have my freedom is more important than your health or whatever. I'm like, no, like we can't, I mean, and I think that the fact that I went to law school and like learned about international criminal law and history and genocide and all of these like really, really deep, serious moral issues gives me a different perspective on this whole situation with COVID. Like the attitude that you're entitled to do whatever you want, regardless of how it affects other people, is contradictory to kind of a moral understanding that was developed after some of these like really, really serious incidences in history. So I'm just like, no, I'm not going to be on board with that just because that's the popular thing to say now, like there's no actual comprehension behind that. There's no sensitivity behind that. There's no spirituality behind that. It's just, it's a crap kind of perspective on the world. And I'm going to say it if I think it. And like, whatever. I mean, I agree with you. I think that, and I think the fortunate thing is that we are in a time in history where people are becoming more vocal and willing to accept more resistance and more backlash and more repercussions for speaking their truth. So that's encouraging to me. And I've had people, not just my students, but like people that I don't even know tell me, thank you for saying what you're saying privately, thank you for saying what you're saying, you're making sense, they're full of it, keep doing what you're doing. And like you said, they don't necessarily want to put themselves out there like that, but they're appreciative that somebody else will. So, I'll take one for the team.
Absolutely. And like I've told you before privately as well, during our interview, when we do have like real live comments come in, we'll definitely have them appear. For example, Fernando Morales says the selfishness is appalling. And and I want people to also understand too. Yeah, from a person like yourself that has went to law school, but a person like myself that also has a wife that works in the medical field. I'm also a military member right now. And I want people to understand is that no matter the leadership, we can see through things. And for me, when I go to my base, I keep myself safe no matter what. Because also in my unit or my base, we have people coming from all parts of the tri-state. So no matter what, we have to focus on being safe, but also getting the job done. And I really find it really, in my opinion, stupid when people use the meaning of freedom, of you're inhibiting on my freedom or my liberty. And I think it's really dumb because, to be honest, if we're about the United States and about Americans and the people, wouldn't you want to keep the people safe? So for me, it's always been a walking contradiction with the people who talk about having anti-mask rallies, people who don't understand that. And I say this many times, is the people who don't choose to wear masks or care about the safety or about the science, it's usually the term of if it doesn't affect them, it doesn't affect them. But like people like myself and others who've known people who have had it, known people who have passed, especially even in the dance community, when it hits us and we understand it, we have a different, I would even just say, appreciation for the science. But we really, us as people should really understand that we're living in a time that no one in our generation has lived through. So of course you're going to have people who have different ideologies. They have different claims to back up things that they believe in. But in reality, from my experience, whether it be military or civilian world, the object is always keep the people around you safe. So if I need to wear a mask where I go,
Mm-hmm,
for me,
mm-hmm,
in my opinion, I will. My thing is, especially in the dance community,
mm-hmm.
because we thrive on being close, that's where the biggest harm can be. Of course, not keeping yourself protected, protection or your safety is more of a priority than the fun you're having. So for me, it's especially seeing as of recent months, a lot of our dance community, whether it be in Florida, whether it be in Houston, whether it be in Phoenix, I've seen it and people have showed me even in New York. I've been very vocal because I want our dance community to come together. But also, I've known people in our community that have gotten sick. And unfortunately, I've known some people that have passed.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I see it as a blatant disregard for the people that are no longer here. And many people, like you said, when you were
Yeah.
talking, that it seems very touchy feely, but it's really about, what do you really care about, yourself, or do you care about the people around you? And for me, again, myself
Mm-hmm.
and you and many others, we've been very outspoken about it, but we also understand the repercussions. I understand, for me, many promoters and organizers that I was very cool with, by last year, maybe the viewpoints I have has affected business, and I'm fine with that, because again, it's about coming together. And we're going to definitely get more into this, but I really, this is a great topic we touched on, but I really want to focus now. We're going to take it back. We're going to take it from when dance really entered into your life, and then we'll go all the way to the present, towards the future. But we'll also have some fun little questions in the half part of this interview. But yeah, Elizabeth, I would love to know where was the first, I mean, if you can remember, what was your first like dance experience, like, of a studio of learning?
So, okay, so I definitely know my first dance studio experience. I danced way before I entered a studio, right? I mean, I used to go when I was younger, when I was like a teen, late teens. I was going to the clubs in New York City, reggae, hip hop, I always loved to dance. But the first time that I entered a studio for train dancing was actually, I was dating a guy and he had taken salsa classes with his former wife. And he was like, okay, you're going to love this. Let's go take this class together. So we went, and sure enough, I loved it. And it was like, it was immediately a high, and it was actually, the first class I took was actually on one. It was one of these like ballroom studios that teach, everything. And it was salsa on one, international style. But still, I was like, this is so awesome. I can't believe I can get this choreography, because everything that I had danced prior to that was not choreographed. It was like, the steps that you learn from, being at the club. So, I loved it. We broke up. And then I was like, well, I'm going to do this for me, right? That was like, salsa has always been that for me. Salsa has always been, something that I use for healing, that I use for stress relief, that, is for me. So I went to another studio where they were teaching New York style. And I can't remember the name of the studio, unfortunately, but the woman who taught it was named Mika. It was her and her husband. And they taught in White Plains, which was where I was working at the time. And so I went into classes there, and then I met like this whole community of people that were all also learning. And we started going out together to these meetups and like, just dancing together. And then as soon as we started to get, our feet under us, so to speak, we were like, oh, well, we need to go take classes in the city. So that's when I ended up, I'm pretty sure the first studio that I went to after that one in White Plains was Santo Rico in Harlem. And that was around 2005. 2005, 2005. So I went there and I started, taking beginners classes, taking lady styling. And then I met one of the teachers there that was working at Santo Rico, and we ended up being in a relationship. He ended up becoming my boyfriend. And so actually a lot of my training was private lessons.
Yeah.
which, was obviously very fortunate because there's no way I could have afforded private lessons, especially back then. I was like 25
Yeah.
years old. So I didn't have that kind of money. So, but I ended up learning a lot from him, and he was training me like all the time. And then after that time, in my Santo Rico time, then I trained with Melanie Torres for I don't even know. I mean, this is a long time ago, so it's hard for me to even know what year it was, but I definitely was taking classes with her, especially her lady styling classes, which I loved, and I loved her energy. And I was so inspired because by the time I went to Melanie Torres's classes, I was in law school, and she had gone to law school. Which was so wonderful to me because I was in law school, but I also knew I didn't really want to be a lawyer. So I was like, wow, this woman, invested all this time in law school, and she decided to do something different, and like, that's okay to do, So that was really great. And then, so yeah, that was kind of like my start was in New York, and it was always on two, other than that first lesson that I took with that one guy. Everything after that was on two, and it's to this day. I know people say it's like a snobby thing to be hardcore on two, but I just love it, and nobody can change my mind.
No, absolutely. And again, like what people have to understand, training, especially in Santo Rico, Harlem, which I've had the pleasure of doing for a few months, it's rough. It's intense, no matter if you're a beginner or an intermediate or advanced. So I definitely give you many, many props. And again, for me, I've always been a salsa head. On two, I started with, but I appreciate on one. I appreciate many styles of it. But then understanding too, I guess, from going from New York, I believe you transitioned to DC. And that was kind of, in a sense, a culture shock or a scene shock. So how was that experience like?
It was bad. It was really so I went to DC for a job, which was exactly what I needed at that time in my life. It was a career move, and it was definitely, hey, Brianna, it was definitely like a career move that was worth it, and that I wanted to do. But I got down there, and at that time, I went to DC in 2012, and I went out. I couldn't find any studios that were teaching on two, at least not like at times that I could take classes, right? So the idea of taking classes was like, nah, and I didn't really want to learn on one at that time. I was just like, I'm not into it. But I did try to go out, and I went out a couple times. I made a very good friend there who we went out, to a couple socials and events, and I could only find like one person to dance on two. And I'm Facebook friends with him still. His name is Reggie Reed, and he teaches now. I don't know if he was teaching back then, but he teaches now, and he travels internationally to congresses and everything. He's a great dancer. He was the only guy I could find to dance with. And I was just like really disappointed with the scene in DC. And I'm sure that it's changed by now, but at that time, I just was like demoralized by it. And I basically stopped dancing for the 2.5 years that I was in DC, which was, in reflection, a really bad move. Because I talk about how, like, I always talk about with my students and anybody that'll listen that, salsa is a tool for mental health and emotional health and spiritual health. Like it's a beautiful, beautiful addition to life. And I was alone. I didn't know anybody when I moved to DC. Like I said, I had one friend. I made one friend who's still one of my best friends now, but I was alone, and all I had in my life was work. So I kind of fell into a depression, because I didn't have dance and I didn't have friends, and, it was just work. But so that was that. And then I met the person who is now my ex-husband, and we moved to Florida because I was just over DC. Like I was over the culture of DC, go all the time. I was overworking, I was burned out. So, and I hate the cold. I can't stand the cold, still can't stand the cold. So we moved to Florida. And then when I got to Florida, then I started dancing again. And that was when I actually was like, all right, I'm going to suck it up. I'm going to learn how to dance on one. Because what happened, it's not that I didn't know how to dance on one, but what would happen is every time I would dance, I would, if there was music on, like if there was no music, I could stay on one. But once the music came on, the music was telling me to dance on two. And so, and my muscle memory would just kick in, and it was so hard and it was so frustrating. But eventually, like one day it just clicked and I was like, oh, okay, I could do this. So, you know, that was kind of the journey.
No, absolutely. And for me, coming from New York as well, being an on-two dancer, I consider myself, I've always had an appreciation for on one because on two is honestly a fairly recent style. Particularly, I would say in the late 80s with Eddie Torres being the founder of it, understanding that on one had been here for decades. So on two was kind of the new child that came along. And for some people, they were focused on the original, this is what I'm doing. But then you had this kind of new style that many people were gravitating towards. It was an attention grabber, and realizing, you know, whether you're in New York and then you go to a whole new city. And DC, my experience as well in DC, I love it myself. I haven't lived in DC, but going to different events out there, the scene has grown exponentially in the last 5 to 10 years, from bachata, salsa, everywhere. But the addition of many ballrooms and studios and social spaces definitely grown. And for me to understand then, with the transition from DC then into Florida, and you're saying also on one, it was prevalent there, but you now saying like, you know, you're open to learning more because again, you're coming to a new city and you don't want to be that person at the social, like a wallflower, just stuck to the wall and just waiting for someone maybe that dances your style. So I would love to know then, when coming into Florida and going into those socials, what was those experiences like?
So well, I was never a wallflower because if I don't have anybody to dance with, I'll dance by myself. Like, and I will, and I do, and like sometimes I do anyway, just because I don't want to be restricted by a leader. But it was, you know, when I came down to Florida once, I started taking the lessons on one before I started to go out. So that was a smart move, right? Because at least I was like, okay, at least I could do like a basic and a right turn on one without getting thrown off. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I basically just treated it almost like the same way that I was a beginner in New York. You know, like, all right, I told people when they asked me to dance, I'd be like, I'm just learning on one, you know, I might fall back into on two.
Yes.
So like, just work with me or whatever. And then over time, and I'm still going to be like right now, people tell me when they see me dance, like, oh, I see you seem so much more relaxed and so much more natural on two. I think that'll probably always be the case just because the muscle memory. But anyway, so then I started, you know, I like being able to dance on one, and I went out and it was great. I mean, it wasn't the scene in the Sarasota, because I live in South Sarasota County. Before I was living in Manatee County, but it's all like the Sarasota Bay Area. It's not as built up as other places in Florida. It's just a smaller scene. It's it's a pretty small group of people that dance. And, you know, so was it like going to Jimmy Anton's? No, you know, but I always had fun. And I actually, so I learned on one. I started taking classes at DK, and then I went to Jay Phillips' studio, and you know, it was fairly easy for me to advance quickly on one because I already had a base, right? So when I went to Jay Phillips, you know, it was more along the lines of I want to teach. So he trained me he has an instructor training program, which is actually really comprehensive and very good. And I learned a lot from him, but it's all on one. So I learned how to lead, how to follow, how to teach leading, and how to teach following, all on one through his instructor training program. And of course, you know, just like overall general techniques for teaching, like how to break things down into small pieces, how much repetition a person needs, you know, all of that type of stuff. So I took that was a great experience. And I was in that training with two other women that I love and that are, you know, two of very few people in Florida that I consider to be friends. And so that was wonderful. And then, so a lot of what I learned from him is, you know, I apply to my on-to teaching, not the moves so much, but the technique of teaching, you know. So that was kind of how it all progressed. And basically, and I don't want to like jump ahead if you have specific questions, but
no, absolutely. I whatever you.
So basically, like, yeah. So I was teaching for Jay in Sarasota, group classes and private lessons, and like at you know, we did. We actually had a social. We threw a couple socials. It's so sad because we threw this really, really great social before COVID hit, and we had another one planned for March 15th. And it was right there. It was like right at that time that I was like, oh no, I'm not going near anybody. Like this ain't happening, you know? So, but we had this social. It was a really successful social, and we had people come from Tampa and Fort Myers and Orlando to this social that was like just wonderful energy. And I was DJing, like not really DJing, but it was my playlist, and it was like super, super fun, really, really great. We had on-to and on-one dancers there, and I taught there, and you know all of that. So it was great. But then COVID hit, and I was like, first of all, I'm making money off of teaching, right? Like now I'm out of you know a portion of income per month, and I miss it. You know, like I don't like it's become integral to my life. You know, my students have become people that I care about, and having that, because when you teach, you have to dance, right? You can get lazy about dancing. If you're not teaching, you can end up, you know, Netflix binging when you had planned to dance. And, you know, when you're teaching, you can't do that. Like you got to be on top of your game, right? So I was like, damn, I don't want to, you know, lose out on this. And my partner, Wes, and he said he doesn't want to come on camera. He's like, he's shy, whatever. He's the man behind the camera. He was at the time, he had been pushing me, telling me he wanted me to teach online from before that. Like when I was teaching for Jay, he was like, you need to do YouTube and da-da-da-da. And I was like, well, it's kind of a conflict of interest. And like, I don't know if I want to do that. And I don't know if I want to put myself out there like that. He was like, nah, you're good. You need to do this. And I was like, whatever. Then when COVID hit, he was like, okay, now you need to do this. I was like, okay, you're right. Now I need to do this. Yeah. And so that was it. Like, that was the birth of Uwanna Dance Salsa, was like, you know, him pushing me and being like, I know how to do the tech part of it. Cause that's what he does. Like he has his own company that he does video editing. He does graphics. He does, you know, all of that. So he was like, all right, look, you know, all you got to do is come up with your curriculum and teach the classes and I'll do everything else. And that's, I mean, I do the promoting as well, but that's kind of how we've divided the responsibilities, and it's been great. I love it. I really, really love it. It keeps me going. Yeah,
and we're definitely going to get more into that for sure. And now I think I kind of want to now transition into a segment that I call the randoms. And it's like I've told you before, it's about 10 questions. I think only one of them is dance related, but it definitely helps and allows myself and the audience to get a larger and a better understanding of Elizabeth. So how it works is, again, 10 questions. You have about 5 to 10 seconds each question to give the best answer you can that comes off the top of your head. So let me know, are you ready?
Okay.
All right. Number one is, what is your favorite food? Yes. Number one is, what is your favorite food?
Ice cream.
All right. Second one is, what is your favorite workout song?
Iroko.
Okay. Got you. Number three is, what is your dream vacation destination?
Oh, I don't know where it is, but I think it's like Bali. The pictures
Okay.
of the huts that are like over the water.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. The next one is, what did you want to be at 10 years old?
I think a veterinarian.
I've heard that before as well. The next question is, what's your spirit animal?
Oh, geez. Probably a crab. I am a Cancer.
Okay, okay. The next one, this is a dance question. Partner work or footwork?
Oh, ooh. I can't choose. I can't choose, but right now, can I? My own answer: body
Yeah.
movement.
Okay. What would
Body
be
movement.
what would be your superpower?
If I could choose any superpower, what would it
Absolutely.
be?
Absolutely.
Flight.
Okay. To be able to
The
fly.
ability to fly.
Got you. Let me see.
Yeah.
This one
Yeah.
here gets a lot of
Yeah.
people. It's really deep. Who are three people that have been most influential to you thus far?
Damn. Okay. Um, well, one of my friends, Cynthia Santiago, who's now a life coach,
Mhm,
and specifically for Latina women is her
mhm.
target audience. But before she was doing that, she was one of the most influential people to me. Um, mm, hmm. I guess my dad. My dad
Mhm,
influenced me a lot. He has very strong convictions and a sense of morality and responsibility. So I think I get some of that from him.
mhm.
Um, and believe it or not, probably my daughter. My daughter. I have an
Okay.
adult daughter. She's
Yes.
25. And I had her when I was 15 years old.
Mhm,
So she has grown into an extremely, extremely opinionated and like just talented, brilliant person. And she inspires me. So yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's
It's
that's
not any
amazing.
famous people. I don't.
No, that's great. We have two more. The next one would be is, what is a special talent that no one would know you had?
Mm. I used to write slam poetry, and
Okay.
I still could if I wanted to.
I definitely can see that. I used to do
Mhm.
poetry as well back in the day, so I know how therapeutic that can be. So I
Really?
definitely, oh, absolutely. I mean,
Yes.
it's definitely
Especially
therapeutic.
speaking it out loud. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And the last one would
Hmm.
be, if you were on an island, what are three things that you would have with you?
Items, not people.
It can be anything.
Oh, well, if it's people, I would say my fiance
Absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah.
Um, um, a very, very good cutting implement
Mhm.
and a water purifier.
That honestly,
Yeah.
those, especially those last two, I didn't get anyone that even thought about water.
Yeah.
Most people thought about their phones. But again, I really thank you for doing this quick little segment because it allows myself and others to understand a little bit more about you in a quicker time. And also now getting back to the dance portion of things, what Brianna said here was she had no idea that you want to dance, was how new it was. Because, again, realizing
Oh,
during
yeah.
COVID, yeah, realizing during COVID that, dance studios, directors, teachers had to now adapt and realize that, many
Hmm.
studios now that we've known are no longer around. Many teachers,
Hmm.
performers, have to find a new way to supplement their income. So realizing now that people are
Yeah.
utilizing the online alternative and many people honestly have been successful. It may not be as quick, but the thing is, I believe and I've seen is that if you can get a following online and get people's attention, then when you come into a public setting, it makes things much easier because I believe a lot of the students, say for instance, that are taking your classes, then in the future, when you're able to have a public space for them, they kind of have that connection with you already. So it's kind of they feel a lot more comfortable. They
Mm-hmm.
understand what's needed out of them. So I think definitely for many people like yourself and others that I've seen doing these online classes and really outreaching the community, I think it's great because a lot of people don't also understand a lot of our teachers are introverts. So a lot of them now being put on an online
Mm.
display for days and weeks and years now, it's new for them. So it's really a testament to understanding what,
Mm-hmm.
what we can really do. And for me now, kind of going into the present, how was I really would love to know is how was when COVID hit, like you said, you were planning along with Jay and others. A lot of the Florida community was planning events to happen. There's so many events that were supposed to happen. So for you, how did that affect you when
Mm-hmm.
COVID really just hit?
You know, I was definitely bummed about the event that we had planned because the first one that we had been so successful and like just had it gave me a taste. You know what it was? It tasted like New York. And I say that to say like, you know, it gave me that thrill of the energy of like it was just pure positivity. There everybody was just, you know, vibing. The music was good. Everybody was on the floor for every dance. You know, it was just I had that experience and I was like looking forward to the next iteration of it coming again. And you know, it was disappointing, but by the same token, you know, it was never a thought for me to keep going with it. Like as soon as I realized, oh my God, this is like hitting the United States now. And there are cases and it's going from 4 cases to 12 cases to 30 cases. I was like, oh hell no. Like I'm too educated to to not think about, you know, the seriousness of a contagious disease. So I was just like, all right, well, obviously I'm staying my ass in my house. And that's what we've done since. I mean, the reason I wear these head wraps is because under here is a rat's nest because I haven't gone to the hairdresser. You know, seriously, like I don't take any risks because for me, it's just my health is just paramount. So I think it affected me differently. I'm a person that adapts quickly and I've had to because I've had a lot of crazy situations in life. And so for me, it was like, okay, this is my new reality. What does it mean? It means now we order our groceries. It means now, you know, no, I don't travel anymore. Like, I don't need my points cards anymore because I'm not traveling.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm quick to recognize the situation around me, just like when Trump was elected, not to get too deep into politics, but
Hmm.
when Trump was elected, I was like, oh, shit's about to get really bad.
Yeah.
and I had colleagues at my job. I had friends that were like, oh, like it's not that Congress will rein him. I was like, oh no. I see what's about to go down. You know, so I'm just very quick to see where we are. And so for me, I think I was probably less emotionally impacted than other people that cling to a particular structure of life. For me,
Yeah.
I've been through so many transitions and I adapt quickly to transition. So I'm like, all right, well, this is what we're doing now, you know? So yeah, I mean, I think it was okay. But like I said, I was, you know, definitely didn't want to let go of dancing and didn't want to let go of
Hmm.
teaching. And so it was, I think had we not launched Uwanna Dance Salsa and we launched in April, had we not done that, I think I may have been at risk of falling into, you know, sort of a depression because it is my lifeline to like that sense of community, to that, you know, requirement that I get up and dance, you know,
Yeah.
that I express, I feel the music, I get my endorphins going, all of that. And I'm giving, You know, I have students that still are with me that don't pay me because they lost their jobs because of COVID. They were laid off. And I'm like, I'm not going to collect money from you because this is I'm going to do this anyway. You know, I don't lose anything by you taking my class for free. And, you know, I mean, it's, you know, it's not like there's a space restriction. So, you know, I feel good about giving you something to look forward to, and you're giving me something to look forward to by being there for you. So for me, it's just, you know, it's definitely therapeutic. I think it's helped me get through this, to be honest.
Yeah, and you touched on something very, very for some people they feel it's touchy, but I think for me it's something that needs to be spoken about more, is the topic and the subject of mental health. Realizing that, especially when COVID hit, a lot of people didn't understand that many of the people in our communities, dance was an escape from their reality. And then realizing that at this point you are not able to control the situation. The situation was controlling itself, and you weren't able to do the things that you loved or find that escape, and you had to really face reality at its core. Because we understand going to congresses, festivals, socials, once we step into that realm, it's a different world. It's like we don't have to worry about what we were dwelling on before we came. We're able to listen and communicate with people. We're able to build relationships and friendships. But a lot of people too that I've talked to on this podcast that you may have seen bring up that topic of mental health, because I think especially in the Latino and the Black communities, that is a big thing that we choose, or the generations before us didn't instill in a lot of us to talk about, because it is also deemed as being weak, as not being able to control your destiny. But I've realized in my lifetime, through many experiences that I've gone through, that your mental health is just as important as your physical health and your spiritual health. Realizing that you need a balance of
even
everything.
more so.
Yeah, and realizing, because again,
Yeah.
what I have to, for me, realizing that the word depression is very key, because I've seen many people that since COVID and not being able to travel as much, not being able to social dance, I've seen people, and I've spoke to them publicly and privately, and understanding how important this has been to many people. And a lot of us take it for granted because, believe it or not, for many people, some people haven't been to a social since February, since January, maybe even in 2019. And for some people, it's, you know, it's very hard. For me, myself, I've been able to adapt, because like you, I understand situations change and you have to adapt and go along with it. Many people still don't understand that, and they will just honestly forego what is reality and create their own reality. And, you know, for me, it helps me understand now where we are, and realizing, especially with social media, you living now in Florida and me living in New York, but also both of us being dancers, it shows how passionate we are. And even going with the mental health, even Brianna says here, mental health was highlighted along with other things. And again, mental health is a very big key because, like you said, you've gone through your depressions and your personal battles, and realizing how much dance really impacted you, whether you knew it or not, whether that social dance you had with that. Because now it comes a point when I believe maybe yourself that you kind of reminisce on the last social dance you had.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you know, yes, but I think also, I feel like what you're talking about, you know, there's the person that just adapts and is like, okay, I don't dance anymore, right? Like dancing, I'm going to move on to a different hobby. And then there are people that completely resist reality.
Yes.
And are out there probably right now, tonight, it's 6:49 p.m. right? On Friday, probably out there right now dancing with no mask on, right? So you got like both sides of the spectrum. And I feel like for me, Uwanna Dance Salsa has become that middle ground, because I still get my fix. I do. I still get my fix, not just teaching, but I do weekly practice also for my students. So
Yes.
I have the classes on Sundays, but then on Thursdays, I have a commitment to show up again. Right. And like I said, I can be lazy. I can be a lazy person. It's easy for me to be lazy. I got a man I love and a dog I love. It's super lazy, right? But like for real, it's like an accountability thing. I'm like, I got to show up for my students and practice.
Yes.
And then when I do, I feel amazing. I feel amazing. And so, and that's the thing. All of my current students, pretty much all of my current students, they take my lessons alone. Even if they have husbands or partners or whatever, they take their classes alone. So I'm doing pretty much all footwork, right? And turns, independent turns, but and body movement and styling and all of that, but not partner work. But still, they tell me, I've had my students tell me, you have no idea what this is doing for me. This is my only outlet. This is my only opportunity to express myself. I mean, and they mean it, like they're like teared up, and I'm like, that is, for me, that's like, oh my God, like even if I make no money off of this, I have to keep doing this because people need each other. We need each other. We have to find creative ways to be with each other and to give to each other and express and all of that without risking our health, and that's, that's the thing that makes me really sad when I see people say, oh, I miss dancing. I can't stand it that I'm not dancing. Well, you know what? You can dance. You don't have to go out there to a social and partner dance. You can dance from home. Take my classes. I promise you, I have not had anybody take my classes and they're like, nah, I'm not feeling it. Everybody that's taken my classes, either they love it and they stay, or they love it and they go for some other reason. Because they don't have time, because, whatever. But it's not because they're like, nah, they all love it. And so you can have that experience and still be safe.
No, absolutely. And that's the thing, is I appreciate you saying that, because it really takes away the excuse of, oh, I don't have a social to go to. Well, no matter what, dance is still a part of your life. It can always be. Just because you're not in the same setting that you're accustomed to, learn to adapt and learn that you can still have fun, even if it means a lot less people in your vicinity, and just keeping things safe. Like, I've been able to see the two examples of events or event organizers doing things prematurely and people getting sick. But I've also seen the other side of actual events being done safely, and everyone has a great time. And really, it always is up to the person, because many people have this notion, and I've heard it myself, that people always are down to blame the people who are attending. Completely understood from their point. But then I'm saying it's also the organizer's social responsibility to keep their attendees safe. Because again, no one should be naive to what's going on, because it affects everyone, from even the school systems now, and realizing, because at one point everyone looked at New York as the epicenter. Everyone looked at New York and was afraid of going because everything was happening. Then that transition, and now we had Florida. But then realizing, for me, and I can tell everyone this honestly and publicly, I had a huge problem, especially in Miami, especially in other places, that I'm seeing people that I know attending events unsafely, not realizing, because you can say, oh, I don't think I'm going to get it. That's not the point. The point is that you don't understand because it doesn't affect you. But it's now me as a person, as a videographer, saying, I'm willing to put my financial reality or my finances and my working schedule in jeopardy because I don't align, or I choose not to align myself with people that I have seen do things incorrectly. It's because I will stand by my truth, just like I see you. And I know me and you have talked as well, and realizing a lot of the backlash, either publicly or privately, that you might or you have been getting for speaking your truth.
Oh yeah, I've gotten threats. I've gotten threats from people for basically calling them out for their hypocrisy, Because the thing that's funny down here is you'll have people that will claim that they're doing everything right, and then you see them in a video. You see them in a video dancing, partner dancing with somebody they definitely don't live with no mask. I'm like, okay. So, and that just goes to show you, right? That just goes to show you that they know it's wrong, right? Because if you're going to sit there and say, you're not gonna even make an argument that this is something that you have the right to do or that it's safe to do. You catch COVID and you don't tell anybody, because that's happened. There's been a lot of people down here who have caught COVID, recovered, and then like I hear from somebody else, oh yeah, they had COVID. They don't tell anybody because they're ashamed, I assume. And then they're out there doing that. And I'm like, y'all know it's wrong. You know what you're doing is wrong. But whatever. I mean, you know, I've said this so many times, and the way I look at it is this: it's a matter of character. I'm choosy about who I let in my life. I'm 41 years old. Okay, I don't play around with having people in my life that are people that don't have integrity. And to me, if you're a person that you have a family at home and you're going to go out and risk catching a contagious disease and bringing it back to your family, there's no way I can trust you to take care of my best interests.
Yes.
If you're not taking care of the best interests of the people that you love, you're not going to be a friend. You might be an associate, but when it comes down to it, what you need is always going to take precedence over my well-being. So I don't need you in my life. You're not the type of person that has the character that I require to be close to me. I know that sounds like I'm on a high horse and I'm super judgmental, but I can do that because I know I haven't that kind of, I know it does, but I can say that authentically because I know that's my character. I know I'm the type of person that if I find your wallet, I'm going to return it. You know I'm the type of person that I'm not going to lie about something in order to advance my own interests. That's me. That's my core belief, and it's the system I live by. So I know I can say that without being on a high horse because that's the horse I'm on. you know? So like, I don't want anybody in my life that doesn't roll that way. Why would I want that? You know, it doesn't make any sense. So, you know, for me, I look at this whole situation like I've managed to filter out people that didn't need to be there in the first place. And I've actually met people like you that I didn't know and that I now feel aligned with, and that I see as allies in this world. So, you know, it works out.
No, it doesn't. And again, we realize too that the people who are most outspoken a lot of times are always going to get the people that support and the people that don't. And for me, I've always realized that, especially with my voice and having a platform, the social responsibility that I have, that even when I'm discussing a specific topic, I've done my research rather than just come at it blindly and emotional. Because again, I do believe that people have the right to have emotion. But when you're having a discussion with someone, like I've had with many people, with people I agree with or disagree with, one in particular, a gentleman from Florida, that I had a big 3-hour discussion with, I didn't agree with mainly 98% of the stuff he said, but I was going to make sure I listened and I wanted to listen to his viewpoint because I didn't want to allow the people that supported him or believe his same systems that a person on the opposite side shut them out. Because too many times we've seen from both sides is everybody talks about let them speak, but are you willing to listen? It doesn't mean you have to agree with them. My focus is understanding where you're coming from, but also I'm going to give you the reality of things, because especially too, as a person who's in the military, I tell people I don't speak for the military. I speak as a human being. I'm a part of a military unit, but for me, I have my own belief systems. I don't respect people involving the military in this COVID thing and us as soldiers. I don't believe that at all. Everybody has a different viewpoint. For me, there's a person, another soldier may just think completely different than me and you, but that's his reality. I can't stop him from believing it, but I can also educate him or another civilian about what's the reality of what we're going through. Because when we're under a situation that we're in, that nobody, it's hard to explain because we have an issue now when people are disregarding the science because they said, oh, the person said this months ago. What you don't understand is they were not knowing of what was happening and they had to learn day by day. So for me, it's, and I tell people is, from my understanding, I always follow the science because what does science do? It evolves. And that information I take solely from people like that. I don't take it from conspiracy theorists. I don't take it from YouTubers that picked up a book and just started talking. I listen to not just one source. I listen to all the sources. So for me, it's like I want people to understand is the more and more we're getting this knowledge and understanding from different media sources we soak in, now it's more than ever time to do your own research. And when you're passionate about something or you're curious about something, whether it's COVID related, anything, do your research before you take on another person's ideology. Because I really believe is that the more and more people, especially with COVID, we're stuck at home, we're on the computer more than ever. Take the time to research. And it's okay. And that's what I think too. Many people are just like, it's a crazy world, but again, it's people like me and you and so many others that we are using our social media to not only with dancing, but we're allowing people to get an understanding of our life and what we believe in. And we're going to find people like me and you have found each other and say like, wow, we understand the same things. The approaches may be a little different, but we're on the same wavelength. But now helping people understand this is not about finding out who's right and wrong. We understand that. It's really about just understanding or realizing, are you willing to listen? Are you willing to just understand another person's point of view before you shut them down? You know, and again, I appreciate you being able to come on to the platform because seeing what you've been doing with Uwanna Salsa and having that online approach and still being yourself at the end of the day, and you even talking about you've gotten even threats from this, but it still doesn't stop you. But again, you're still a human being with feelings and emotions. So for me, again, I support what you've done or what you continue to do. And for me, I encourage many other people, whether it be male, female, or whatever you choose to identify with, is speak up more. But you also have to realize just because you write something on social media does not negate you from being critiqued.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And, you know, I think I'll just add to what you're saying that I think one of the things that the thing that's interesting that I think the last 6-8 months or so has exposed is that, you know, we as a society have tended to compartmentalize. And in the dance community, there's been this compartmentalization, right? And I've done it like prior to this period, although I had been starting to feel this way before COVID hit. So for example, with issues of racism, you know, I have been talking about my feelings about not wanting to teach racists, basically not wanting to be involved because I work in a very progressive field. So I haven't had to have direct colleagues that were like blatant racists. But in the salsa scene, you know, you don't get to, like, typically if you're working for somebody else, you don't get to choose your students, right? So you may be in a situation where you're teaching an African-derived dance to somebody that hates Black people, right? And that was a real problem for me prior to this year. And I think the feedback and the message that I got from people that have been in the industry for longer than me is like, basically you have to separate these things, you know, like it's a customer is a customer, and you know, you just don't even bring those kind of views and perspectives into the conversation, whatever. And I'm like, nah, what?
Yeah.
No, because when you say this, you're talking about my daughter. And when you say this, you're talking about my man. And those are the two people I love most in my life. So there's no way that's okay with me. So like, I think these last several months have gotten us to a point where we're starting to recognize, no, it's not like when you go on a dance floor, all those things disappear. And in some respects, when you talk about partner dancing, especially dances like kizomba, bachata, whatever, where you're letting the people up on your body. You're letting them in the closest space that you could ever let them. Why should you not care about how they think about these really important issues? About your own humanity, for example. If you're a person of color and you're dancing with somebody that is a flagrant racist and they're touching you, I mean, that's just crazy. That's crazy to me. So like, as a teacher, I think I was really struggling with that before having my own company, where I feel like now I could say whatever I want. I can say whatever I want, and people can, if they don't agree with me, then don't take my classes. And I've had people say that I wouldn't take your classes because you're too, okay, fine, I don't need you, whatever. But like, that's not like the mentality. The mentality has been, that everybody should be welcome no matter how they think and what they believe and blah, blah, blah. And to me, I think that the last 8 months have started to bring to light the fact that we can't compartmentalize these issues. We can't act like we go out on a dance floor and then poof, these enormous moral, serious social issues don't exist anymore. That's not reality. And, people are hurt. And I've listened to, people in the dance community on podcasts and interviews, and Black women especially, talking about the really horrible experiences that they've been through in the dance community that are directed, racism directed against them. Why should they have to be silent about that? Why should that be something that, we just all accept because it's just dance? No, so I think I'm grateful in a sense for these last 8 months, because I think there's more of a recognition that these very serious things infiltrate every segment of society, including the dance community. The sexual assault issues and misogyny issues, the racial discrimination, and everything. It's all coming to a head now, and I'm grateful for that, because I was like, am I the only one that thinks this is ridiculous? And I guess I'm not. So it's
No.
good,
And to me, I agree that with that sentiment, that honestly, even with COVID and all of the tragedy it's brought, it's also allowed people like us to see the real human side of people. When we no longer have dance as an escape, social media also allows us to see the realness in the people that we thought we knew. So for me, it's been honestly a blessing. It's been honestly a blessing, because I realized, hey, this person that I thought I was very close with, the fact that you can believe in something that, like you said, racism, realizing that a lot of people we thought we knew and thought were good-hearted people really aren't. But also, too, realizing that, again, when we get back into dancing, it's going to be different. I believe it's definitely not going to be the same. No matter what organizer tries, there's going to be some success, but we've seen a lot of the failures, and people are learning from their lessons. So, for me, I encourage many people who are going to watch this and understand that for me, I can only associate myself with people that value human life, and value integrity and dignity, because even with us going through such a tragedy that we're all faced with, you still can see the selfishness. So for me, it's like, I'm thankful that I know people like you and many others that are really focused on the right path, no matter the obstacles that they may face. And honestly, it's been an awesome interview having with you, because I feel like I've gotten to know you so much more, even with our private talks, and we're discussing about things that's going on. And again, I definitely support you at the end of the day. We share a lot of the same ideas. You inform me about stuff, and we get to dialogue. So I think it's very important. And realizing again is that the more and more we speak up, the more and more we're going to see people who really do agree with us and understand. But for me, my focus is always giving a
Mhm.
voice to people, whether they feel they have no voice or whether people are recommending, hey, I want to listen to this person's story. Like you had introduced me to Jay. I was able to speak to him, and I knew sooner or later I was going to have to speak to you. And I'll definitely thank you, at least tonight,
Mhm.
for taking out the time to come on this platform and be able to speak.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And if you don't mind, can I
Absolutely.
mention that I'm actually having a sale on
Yes.
membership for a Uwanna Dance Salsa. So we have a monthly membership that is usually $25, and that's for weekly classes, weekly practices, and then every month we do a bonus class where I bring in another instructor, teleport them, so to speak,
Yeah.
from wherever they are, and they teach a different genre. So in October, it's going to be bachata with Anna Maria, who's from Tampa, and she actually did. Oh, thank you, Brianna. Brianna taught Afro beats in our August bonus class. She was awesome. We had so much fun. She's a great teacher, also, obviously. And I had oh my God, I had Jessica Albino teach
Mhm.
bomba in September. And so next month it's going to be bachata with Anna Maria. And yeah, so typically it's $25 a month, and I'm doing a sale from now through Sunday at midnight Eastern for $20. So $5 off for the monthly membership. And you have access to the live classes every Sunday. But you also have access to the class for the whole month. So if you're not able to make it live, that's not a problem. You can just,
Mhm.
take the class at your leisure throughout the month. So it's a really good deal. We have a great time. Sometimes I do like happy hours, like virtual happy hours, where we just get
Mhm.
together and we like have cocktails and we talk, and then we get up and dance, and then we sit
Yeah.
down and talk again. So it's just, it is an online community. And if you've never danced onto, then I definitely recommend you take level one, because you really need to start from the beginning if you're not an onto dancer. If you already dance onto and you're like a beginner, advanced beginner, then you can join beginners level 2. This month we're doing a choreography, but next month I'll resume teaching new material. So it's super fun. I love it. And if you're one of those people that's like, I miss dancing, you don't have to miss dancing. You can come dance with us.
Absolutely. And, we'll definitely, I want to get some contact info from you where they can reach you before, I kind of ask you your last word. So, yes,
Yeah.
for contact information, how can people reach you?
Mm-hmm. Well, the best thing is the Uwanna Dance Salsa Facebook page. We're also on Instagram, but definitely the Uwanna Dance Salsa page is Facebook page is the best. Like, I answer those DMs. You can also directly message me, Elizabeth Silleck, on Facebook, and you can email uwannadancsalsa@gmail.com. And I'll
Oh,
put that in the
perfect.
chat.
Definitely. I've also myself, if people want to know, on my profile as well, I do have the flyer for this next set, this package that she has. So you can also check mines. But I really appreciate you so much being able to come to the platform and be able just to give people a little bit closer look on who Elizabeth is beyond just being the teacher, beyond just you want to dance, just who you are as a person, what you've been through in your life. And again, like, I appreciate that, again, you taking your time because I know you have a busy schedule, but I would love to know as well before we go, what are some last words that you do have for myself and the audience?
Oh boy, vote. That is my last word. Please vote. Go vote. My last words are that right now I think the United States is a sinking ship on fire, and if you go and you vote Democratic, you will at least be helping to put out the fire. That's my last words.
I definitely appreciate it. You know, and again, I just appreciate that you can just be yourself and express how you feel because we realize in today's day and time, there's the people that are going to be outspoken and there's going to be the people that are just very, I'd rather keep it to myself. So I appreciate you, Elizabeth, coming onto the platform tonight and just sharing with us your life and what you've been through. And like I've told many of my guests, this is our first interview, but it definitely won't be our last. So I'll definitely want to catch up with you later this year, seeing how Uwanna Salsa is doing with the online, seeing your next projects coming up, and just kind of giving us an update later on of what you've been up to. So again, I thank you so much for being on the platform. It was a really special interview, and now we get to kind of see each other rather than just writing on Facebook. So, I mean, I've loved every minute of it. I hope you are then as well. You and your fiance are safe, and your daughter are safe out there, even with all this craziness. But again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for appearing on tonight, and I definitely can't wait to talk to you in the future.
Thank you so much, Diamond, and I look forward to it as well. I can't wait to see what you're up to in a couple months, and I am confident that we will have good news to report if everybody goes and votes.
Absolutely. So thank you again for coming on tonight. I thank the audience for watching.
Thank you.
So everyone, again, stay safe, and we will be here next time. And see you later. Peace.